Yeah. Welcome to the waning hours of LI Who 3. But you know, you can get your tickets for LI Who 4.
Hooray!
Yay! Was there anybody here who was here last night for the Nicholas Courtney panel, the late night Nicholas Courtney panel that everyone mentioned the full name of? Very good. Was that good? You liked it? I liked it. My name is Charles Martin. I'm with the Happiness Patrol. It's a Doctor Who podcast because there aren't really very many of those. But ours is the happiest of them. We try to take a very optimistic view of the series as it goes on. We come out with a new episode every time, right after an episode has aired, so we're going to be recording one later tonight for later on this week about last night's episode. And so, as you can gather, some episodes are more of a challenge to be happy about than others. I was okay. Anyway, so I want to say one thing, and then we'll bring up our esteemed guest, and that is that I am a veteran fan. I'm sure you can tell. Started this beard when Troutman was in. Down to here. No, I'm a veteran fan. For those, how many of you came into the series in, say, 2005 or later? That's fine. I'm not going to. Don't worry. You're not to be shamed. It's fine. That's good. We're glad to have you.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That's right. Nothing wrong with that. I just want to tell you that back in my day,
Tom Baker.
that old man voice is getting easier and easier to do every year. Back in my day, villains were villains, right? Roger Delgado, yeah, you know, right? You were like, boo, hiss. And the one thing I'm really struggling with in this new modern Russell T. Davies and Stephen Moffat era of Doctor Who is he keeps coming up with villains we like. they're nice. We sort of root for them, like Missy. You know, she's she's bonkers, but she's also brilliant. You know, especially in this last Dalek episode. I think you guys will agree that was a great, good comedy. So here we've got the bad people of our guests at the convention, right? They're all playing sort of villains, but we love them. And so without further ado, I better bring up Annette Badland, Jen Sharkey, and Nina Pizzolato.
Now we've surrounded you.
I give up.
It's a cavalcade of evil? We love you guys. It's a thrill to have you all here with us, and thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Yes?
Give that microphone back.
I can speak.
Oh, yeah.
No, nothing in the world can stop me now.
I think I'm going to go in the order that you appeared in New Series Doctor Who, if that's all right. So I think I will start with Annette. Now, you've had quite a career. And we were just
That
talking.
just means I'm very old.
But you have been in a ton of stuff. When did you first get into acting? Like the mid-'80s, I think, wasn't it?
Well, into television in the 80s.
Yeah.
But before that I was in theatre. I left drama school in 72.
Wow.
1972, so I am very old. But it started for me, like a lot of people, on a parents' day at school. I'm an only child, which I think has a lot to do with it as well. And
You are as well.
We are. Only children become villains. And I felt the audience. I could make them laugh, and I could make them serious. I thought, oh, I rather like this sensation. At about 9 or 10 years old, and then I was in a small town. So we have a drama school called Lambda, and I used to do their external exams just to see if I could do it, and then on to drama school, and then, as I say, I started in 72. And you didn't need to know all of that, did you? Rambling on about my childhood.
How did you get the part in Doctor Who?
I was just asked.
Well,
Well,
you were asked around.
Yeah,
I was.
All right, make a note of her.
Yeah, exactly.
But initially, those first two eps, there was no intention of Boomtown when I was asked to do it, so I was part of the trio, and then Boomtown for me, which was an amazing Christmas gift. It arrived around Christmas time.
Oh, that's
Yeah, fantastic.
And you enjoyed being, I mean, you came back, so you obviously enjoyed being associated with the park.
Yeah, I thought I'd give it a go.
Except for the makeup, or no?
Well, I was lucky. I never got into a suit. I never had to be, apart from the arm, which I grabbed Rose with when we were in the TARDIS. I never had to wear a suit. No, the suits are huge. They're 6-foot dancers were in them, and we used to take their heads off, and you'd see 2 desperate eyes and a very sweaty forehead. And we'd have to give them water and a cigarette and whatever else they needed, and then pop their head back on and push them back on. So no, I was very lucky I didn't wear a Slovene suit.
Now, your character's name is Blonde Felfach Casimir Slovene.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
We're
That's
just
the
going.
days hyphenate.
Yes, can we? Apparently, she remarried at some point.
Someone she ate earlier.
We're just going to call the character Margaret.
If you want. A human form. Yeah.
And then I think that brings us to you,
Yes.
Dan, by the way, for everybody. You played, you played an entire race. Now that's
Yes. The clothes, so let me innocent.
my friend Deep Roy
Oh, yes, yeah.
is also one of the very few actors I know who's played an entire race. He played all the Oompa Loompas in the last version of Willy Wonka. All of them. Have they ever approached you, say we'd like to have 100 of yous?
No, well, the first story that we did when they brought them back to Sontaran Strategy, they made about 14 full Sontaran suits. And then Chris Ryan and I had sort of like full prosthetic makeup on top of that. All the rest of the guys had their normal heads, their normal human faces inside sort of helmets. So as a result, every year, whenever I go back to it, they sort of scramble and get together because these suits they've got quite a limited shelf life. They deteriorate rather rapidly.
Yes.
And also because it's kind of foam. Every time you put it on, it sort of tears slightly. So it's got quite a short life. But I think the last time when that was an issue was when I was doing the Matt's last episode. I was in front of a green screen talking to myself. There's 2 separate Sontarans.
Yeah.
So the technology does exist, but I think it's probably more a case of technically, because it's a visual effect, it will probably cost more to do that than it would do to get more people in slightly shock-soiled So yeah, it could be possible, but
Derek Sherwin was talking earlier about the white robots in the
Oh,
Mind
yes.
Robber. He just found them in the storeroom. He's like, quick, we'll use these in the sequence. And they just repainted them because they were in terrible shape, apparently. They've been in some other TV episode. The Sontaran outfit that you use is for you. It's been custom made for you.
well, no, the head makeup has been. The bodies were sort of made as kind of one size fits all. They don't quite. But no, the first story, it's interesting just because that was 7 years ago and stuff. I remember the first time putting the arms on, because they're very snug. It's a bit like when you have the old blood pressure done. You know, you've got that blood pressure thing which like inflates and then sort of like seems like your arm. It's basically like that on your entire body.
Ooh.
So yeah,
Ooh.
it's not comfortable. So the first time that I had it on, my hands swelled up in a really kind of weird way, and then the costume, because I moved around it, had a bit of give in it. But it's, yeah, and it's funny actually, all the Sontaran costumes, they've got the names of the original sort of guys who were the original Sontaran ball. So it's like, today I'm wearing Trevor. and whatever, but
Trevor the Sontaran.
Trevor the Sontaran. It was also hilarious as well because I think because it was a really specific brief of getting actors with finding sort of 12 actors who are about between 5'10" and 6 foot tall, not too difficult. If you have sort of like 12 actors who are between 4'10" and 5'4", that's a bit more tricky. So one of the guys was the company accountant from upstairs, who was just bemused by the whole thing. He was the right height, but he was just like unassuming like the car going, "Oh, so we're marching now, are we?" He's like, "I've never done this before." So don't worry, it's cool, it's fine. So it was an interesting mixture.
Do you think we might need to save this for later, but do you think that actors of that height range are discouraged from performing? I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I shot up very high.
Right.
First time I ever went to a theatrical agency and said I'd like to be an actor. They're like, too tall.
Well, that's rubbish, no.
Yeah.
I think it's just simply that it's probably more difficult to place you, but I think actually it can work to your advantage as well. Because again, if you've got a series of you know, sort of like blandly good-looking, 5'10" man, dark hair, sort of like blue eyes. That's quite a lot of people like that. Whereas the extremes, you know, you might be limited in the kind of work you can do, but it's not going to go away. And that sort of thing. So I think it's just seeing what the actual sort of opportunities are, and sort of and making the most out of it as well.
Do you find there's more opportunity in that in theatre or versus television, or?
Not really. There are certain parts I find myself playing quite often. I like sort of like the slave or sort of comic relief and that sort of thing. But that's my abilities as a comic actor as well as being short. But it's kind of it's quite idiosyncratic depending on what you're working with. I mean, sometimes people assume that I'm some kind of acrobat because then you can do backflips and stuff, which I certainly can't. But yeah, I think it just depends what your strengths are and finding a way to actually, so first of all to make a living out of those and then perhaps transcend them as well at a later date. So, yeah. How did you get the part initially? Oh, well, I simply, I wasn't invited. Actually, Annette is in one of my favourite films. One of the early career highlights was when Terry Gilliam on the Jaguar.
I was going to ask her about this later.
Yeah, I was going to ask her. But no, I happened to be having a chat with my then agent, and I was like, oh, it's my birthday coming up soon. I'd love to be a doctor. That'd be a really fun birthday present, just in passing. And I think that gave her the prod at the right time when they were looking for actors of this very specific height band. And I didn't have any prior knowledge or something, and I thought they might give me some times back and they're quite stocky, so I thought that might be a possibility. But I had no prior intelligence about that, so yeah, I auditioned for it in the same way that you sort of like, I thought, well, you've got to audition for Doctor Who, and then I sort of like giggled like an idiot for that 10 minutes. And then I got the script through, and I did a lot of homework, you know, not just sort of learning the lines, but also getting my old VHS copy of Time Warrior and watching all those things. And then I went in and read, and I think because so many people who work on the programme have a love for it as well, I think it probably, aside from being able to act reasonably well in the audition, knowing lots of stuff about the programme as well was probably a point in my favour too. But but I auditioned along with all the other guys who weren't Chris Ryan, I imagine. Was probably sort of like invited as well, like some people at this table.
Oh dear.
I'll say this now so we can get it out of the way. You and Christopher Ryan are quite a team. But you do the entire rest of the race super well.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Nina.
Hi.
You're the new kid.
Yeah.
On the show.
New kid on the block.
So aren't you glad you don't have to wear that much makeup, right?
No,
Big suit.
I have always wanted to be. I have always tried to get, I get a little bit of makeup on, and I enjoy touching my face. So I don't know. I know you always say it's like 3 hours in the chair.
Yeah.
I think I might find that quite relaxing. I might get bored of wearing the prosthetics and stuff afterwards, but yeah.
But yeah.
I'd like to give it a go.
And
The spa prosthetics treatment.
Yeah, it's not people touching you. I mean, that may sound a bit weird, but
how did you get into this weird family of Doctor Who?
it was very simple. Again, I wasn't invited. So no, I keep telling the same story. I was in an office job. I've already acted previously, and my agent gives me a call, as he does for every job. Says I've got an audition for Doctor Who for you. It's in 2 hours. And I was like, oh, okay. So I ran into a little spare room, and I just kept swatting away and did what I could with it. And I do think the reason I got the job, well, I mean, I like to think I'm quite good in like under pressure in audition situations. But I do think my headshot at the time looked like the way Alex Kingston looks. I really do. Like it's kind of like I'm just staring straight down the lens, and it's kind of very feline-y, and my hair's all curly to the side. It's like a black version of her. So that's why I think I got the job.
Well, I like that haircut that they gave you in the episode.
Thank you.
Kind of
Oh yeah, that was me.
on this side.
It was the haircut, just all these loads of pins. Yeah.
Well, it was good. It was very 80s, I like it.
Thank you very much.
Let me stay with you for a second. You
Okay.
were also on EastEnders.
I was on EastEnders, yeah.
I wanted to ask you a little about because that is quite a different production style to Doctor Who. So, can you compare the experiences of being regular on EastEnders and doing Mel's in Doctor Who?
well, EastEnders was one of my first jobs, and I'm very nervous. I'm always very nervous when I go onto a new set and around, and you know, the cast who've already made families or made a clique or made it, you know, they're really tight knit, and I'm always scared to get into that. But EastEnders, I was afraid to kind of speak my mind about maybe what my costume looked like, or not speak my mind, just have any input in it, and that's one thing that's quite sweet. You know, I've been doing some photos. Sorry.
She meant to do that.
I've been doing some.
She juggles as well.
I do actually. No, I don't. I've been doing, you know, a lot of photo ops here in the dress that I got to choose as Mel's, and the whole process was. No, because I found EastEnders quite a lonely experience because it's a massive, massive thing. You know, when coming into Doctor Who, it was 3 characters, whereas in EastEnders, you know, 10, 20 different families, and they've all got their little clique going on. And I just remember walking around like a kind of headless chicken, not really knowing what's going on. It's very, very fast paced. So there's obviously it took 2 weeks to film one episode. My episode, 14 minutes of airtime of Doctor Who, whereas EastEnders, there's 4 shows a week, so it's literally like, you don't know whether you're coming or going, and filming different episodes at different, you know, you might have 5 episodes to film, but you're filming episode 2 first, then 5 next, and then scene after scene, and there were times, being a new actor, I got very confused, and I kept missing my timeline really, so I might have lost my son, and I'm really, really upset in one scene, and the next you don't really see that follow through, and that was just, I think, being naive as an actress and not really understanding, but it taught me a lot.
Yeah.
It taught me how to work fast and learn fast, so I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't go back either.
I'm in EastEnders at the moment.
Oops.
And I couldn't agree more.
Oh, really good. Okay. Oh, I'm so
It is, it's a soap machine.
Yeah.
So you just don't stop. And there's no, the directors don't give you very much at all. They can maybe tell you where you come from, where you're going. When I started, I was doing Outlander as well, and Wizards vs Aliens. So I did one ep, went away for Outlander, came back, and I'd been in, there's a big pub there, the Vic, which is a big centre, and I'm with that family, so I'd been in, and the director said to me, oh, maybe you'd like to look round, see where you're, and I said, I've been here before. He said, oh, have you? Oh, right, okay. Because they don't know. There's just so much material coming. You are very much on your own.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, did you take over her part? Or?
Yeah. I've been trying for years because I wasn't invited to do that.
Let me ask you about a couple of my particular favorite film roles of yours, starting with the one that Dan mentioned, Jabberwock. Those of you who haven't seen it, it was made very shortly after Monty Python and the Holy Grail, 77 I think it was, by Terry Gilliam. It was meant to be like a solo project, not really connected to that film, but it has that. It shares a certain look. It's from a medieval poem.
It was his
similar.
First venture into filmmaking.
Yeah, and it has several pythons in it.
It does. Mike Palin, who's the hero and the lead, who is a glorious. He's everything you think he is from what you see on the telly. He's a wonderful human being.
Yeah,
Very generous.
It was very well done.
Yeah, and Warren Mitchell, who's just died. I don't know how much you would be aware of him. Was my dad, my shouty dad.
So tell us a little about your part, because I'm hoping everybody will go out and rent it.
Do you
Right
have
up
shares
there.
or something?
Yeah. No, I think that's a film that more people should see. It's kind of a forgotten.
Well, I was Griselda Fishfinger.
And custard.
And Mike Palin was in love with me, and I didn't care very much about him at all. And I ended up being a nun, I remember having to. And one memory I have is we worked at Esher Forest, which is just outside London. It was a very hot summer, and Warren Mitchell was bald, and I remember him having to come down as himself, not during the filming, but as an actor with a boy behind him with an umbrella like an Indian kind of potentate, having to, you know, process down this forest hillside into where we were working. And Bernard Bresslaw was in it, and Anne was talking to me about Bernard Bresslaw, who was
He was the original ice warrior, one of the ice warriors.
So he was in it too.
Lovely. You were also in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with people. Tell us a little about working with Tim Burton and Johnny Depp and the rest of the
Sadly, I didn't work with Johnny Depp. I met him at the rap party, but I didn't actually work with him. Tim is shy, and I am too, and so there wasn't much chat before. I'm only in one scene. I'm a lady dispensing sweets on Halloween when the little Johnny Depp comes to my door and I give him sweets. He's got lots of orthotics in his mouth. But Tim, once you're on the floor, is fantastic, and he'll stand on a milk crate. He was adjusting the lights. He was saying she needs more coloured sweets in that bowl. I was holding on the crate.